Right, so to test a utility function or any function in particular, it's quite simple. This function here takes in an input and then essentially does some filtering and has an output. So it's as simple as render this function, pass in different types of inputs, and then show the relevant output, i.e., in this example here, we're filtering some movies, so we're passing in an array of movies. It should filter out and then spit out, for example, if two or three of the movies were greater than 4.5, then it would show that as the output. So that's what we want to do. So in utils, we can do a new file in here. So we can do helper.test.ts in here. So let's actually do that. Or you can do it in the test folder at the top as well. It's up to you. I'm just showing you different ways of doing the unit test. So helpers.test.ts, because there's no JSX in this one. Then what we want to do is we want to essentially create our describe block. So let's just do describe and then again pass in what we need to do in here. So let's just close this down for now. And now we want to create our it block within the describe block. And let's just actually just remove all of this. And now let me save that. Now what happens is with actual functions, we don't need to render anything because it's just a function we're testing. So now instead of this, the first thing we want to test is the describe block. So let me just quickly change this. So this describe block can be helper functions or whatever it is, but in this scenario, it's just going to be get the top movies. So let's copy this and we can also import it in as well. So let me just render this and import from helpers. And basically, we just want to pass in a few different arguments or pass in an array of movies in here. So let's just say Inception, Dark Knight, Interstellar, like that. Or what we can do is quite simple, is we have the array that we've created. So let me just delete this. So the array that we've created is in movie data here. So we can just literally copy this one and go in here and paste this in and import it in as well. So let me save that. This will pass. We're passing in the movies and so on. That should work. Or what we can do is instead of that, we can just basically create an array of different types of movies, delete this one, and then this is failing because of the types. It's expecting the image URL as well. So let's go ahead and add some image URLs. So you can see now that this function takes in 3 arguments. Well, 1 argument, which is an array of objects. Like so, we're passing it in, we're doing all of that, which is fine. But we know that the function only returns items greater than 4.5. So we've got 1 there, we've got 2, and then the last one is 3.2. So again, they won't work. So what we can actually do is move this movies up to the top. So let's take that up. Now that's working. That movies here can be reused. So you can have something like a mocks file or something like that. But again, we can amend this original movies with the spread operator and make some changes and so on. So this is all fine. We're rendering it, everything's working. But what we want to do is in our test over here, we want to check that it returns only the movies that are greater than 4.5. And then what I want to do is I want to say const top movies like so. So we've got the assertion in here. Let me delete this one. And then we can basically, it does this for us. So it's saying that this should equal this. And it also should say expect top movies.length to be 2 instead of 4. So let me save that. And you can see all the unit tests have passed. So what's happened is, so we're taking out all the movies in the array at the top, which is all movies. And then let's just change that name. Then what we're doing is we're getting the top movies from all movies, which is essentially Inception and The Dark Knight from there. And then it also has a length of 2. So let me see if I change this, what happens. So again, you should do this as well. So this should now fail. And if you scroll up, what Jest does is it gives you the rating that it is receiving. So you can see here the plus is the correct one, and this is what we type, which is the wrong one. So let's just Command Z back and save. And now you can see that the tests are now passing. So now that's the positive, but what about the negative? We want to create a new unit test, which essentially does returns an empty array when no movie has a rating above 4.5. So let me do that. And then movie A, which again we need an image URL for, and then also the second one, which again we need an image URL for as well. So now let's save that, and you can see the test pass because it's saying that the array was empty. So because it's empty, it should pass. So let me just quickly change this to 4.5 and save. So now you can see movie A over here, because it's 4.5 and above, it should be included in this equal over here. So let me just change it back. And now you can see the tests are now passing. So that is as simple as it gets for creating the functions. And one final one as an edge case is a final unit test of returns an empty array when given an empty list. So let me save that. And again, you can see that this has also passed because when you pass in an empty array into movies, then there's nothing to filter. So therefore, it should equal an empty array. So we've essentially tested how we would test all utility functions. You would do the same with any other arguments if there were more than one argument in the function itself, and essentially that's how you do your unit tests as well. So what we're going to be looking at next is we're going to be looking at how to test global context. So we're going to be using use context from React. So we will just quickly bring in a component that has a global state, and then therefore when we make changes to the global state, we want to be able to test that as well. So that's what we will be doing next.